everyone, it is Mona here at Craft Klatch. Today we are going to do a Frozen inspired craft, and it's going to be an Olaf ornament. I found this cute silicone mold on Amazon, and I'll have that linked over on my website at craftklatch.com. I'm going to use acrylic paint. I have some orange paint and some black paint, and that probably will be all I use. I might use a little brown, I'm not sure. But if you watch my videos, you've seen me do something similar before. I'm going to just paint right on the mold, and it's a small mold, so you want to be careful. And make sure you use a pointy brush, a small thin brush. I'm just going to paint in the features. And this could take 2 coats because silicone doesn't really want to be painted on. Doesn't mean we don't do it anyway. And what you'll find is sometimes the paint will move. And you could paint it after you unmold it. You could just pour it and do it that way. And I want to do it beforehand because then it becomes part of the actual resin instead of just sitting on top of the finished resin where it could peel off. But either way would work. Okay, so I have the orange on. I'll let that dry and I'll do another coat. So then I'm going to do black for his buttons, his arms, the twigs off the top of his head, the eyebrows, and then his mouth, being careful not to hit his teeth. Now, you can use a brush for everything, but I like to use a toothpick sometimes on some of the things that I know I wouldn't be able to do very well with my brush. So like his eyes, I'll just take a toothpick, put a dot right in there. Now, as you can see, I'm going to get real close here. You can see over, like here, the paint kind of beads because the paint doesn't want to stick to the silicone. So that's why it takes multiple coats to do it. Might take 2. 2 might be okay. You might want to do 3, but you just let that first coat dry, go over it again, and eventually you'll get a nice solid coat on there. So don't, worry about it if all of a sudden you see the paint is breaking apart. Don't worry about it. I've mixed some of the Easy Cast resin, and you could use Envirotex Light if you would rather use that. Either one works fine. I'm not really sure how much resin I'm going to need, so I have some made that I think it'll be enough. I'm going to put some of this white pigment in here, and it's a pigment dye that's made for the resin. Then I'm going to carefully pour it in here, and I'll let it kind of seep into the different areas. Looks like it got into all the spots, so I'm going to do the very same thing on this one. So I'm going to let this sit a minimum of 12 hours. I'll let the bubbles rise to the top. You can take a straw or a lighter and just run it over the surface of it to pop the bubbles, and then just let it set. The resin has set on the Olaf ornaments, and what I did while I was working on a different project right next to it, and I accidentally put my lighter right on top of the resin, so it made it overflow their banks here, so now they're attached. But we'll take care of that, no big deal. We're over 12 hours, but we're not that far over 12 hours, so it's still pretty flexible. And I'm just going to take some scissors and cut. And then I'm going to take the scissors and cut right along the edge. And you wouldn't have to do this if you didn't overflow it like I did, because things were going very perfectly up until that happened. And for those hard to get at spots, you can just use your craft knife, and it cuts off pretty nicely at this stage. It's not so brittle yet. Now my Olafs are just about finished. There are a couple things, like this guy, his nose isn't quite orange enough and the eyes aren't quite perfect. So I'm going to just do some very minor touch-up with the orange, the black, and I'm going to put a little brown on the arms. Okay, I'm going to put the black on the eyes. Round them out just a little bit more, and you can do this with a toothpick if you'd rather. I'm going to take a little bit of brown and just go over the arms and the hair, because technically they're twigs, so I guess black, they wouldn't necessarily be black. So I'm just going to go over the black a little bit. Once dry, you can leave them like this. You can stick them to stuff, if you want to put some kind of sticky tape behind there or something. You can certainly do that, but I want to turn them into an ornament. What I need to do is create a hole to be able to hang him. So kids, don't worry, Olaf is okay. But I'm going to use my drill with a very, very fine drill bit, okay? I'm going to drill a hole right by his hairline. So there you go. You can barely see that he's got a couple of holes in his head now. But he's fine. He feels fine. Now what we need to do is add some fishing line. I threaded it through the hole that we just drilled, and I cannot tie a knot in fishing line. I'm not very good at it. So what I'm going to do is tie a knot. And I take a teeny bit of some crazy glue right on the knot. Let it dry, try not to glue it to my finger, then I'll cut off the excess fishing line. And now we have two little Olaf ornaments. Thank you guys so much for liking this video and commenting. It certainly does help. I'll definitely see you next time. Happy crafting, and let me know what you think.